lot of my recordings, I start with a theme in order to stay focused, but on this recording I want to riff and just explore some general tangents and move around a little bit. So early on in my life, I noticed that I felt less nervous, that I felt happier, that I felt more in control, and was more successful when I had one very positive, strong source of intense focus and momentum. And learning that I had PTSD came much later. And so I want to explore how intense, positive, singular focus is actually perfect medicine for the helplessness and confusing state of PTSD. Now, to do that, let's look at this red circle here where you have past trauma. Now, the sad thing is that when you are a baby being hurt, jostled, overwhelmed, tormented by a 30-foot tall giant, which is how adults look to a baby, and particularly when they are the ones you are bonding to, the intense terror, pain, loneliness, confusion, sanity, hurt is going to be some of the biggest emotions you ever experience in your lifetime, because it's in virgin terrain, it feels completely new, and it's happening on this huge scale, and you're completely dependent and helpless. And in life, unless, just to give you some example of what that territory would look like as an adult. So I want you to imagine that some 30-foot tall giants break into your space, wherever you're in, just knock the building apart, grab you, take you to an isolated place, and just that. And I want you to imagine just how you would be feeling in this moment if that happened, a 30-foot, and just like a baby's never seen a 30-foot giant before being born, well, you haven't either. So it's that kind of virgin terrain. It's completely dissociating. So they've got you off in that place, and they start shaking you and throwing you and playing with you, and you're screaming and you're in terror, and they whack you because and you shut up. You get that you're in more danger. Or maybe you dissociate and just lose it and start crying and blank out. But I want you to live with this reality a little bit. And then I want you to imagine that every time you try and talk about this, like I just got lifted up with a giant, it was terrifying, I got shook, I got whacked, they're like, be positive, focus on the positive, this and that. And you get that no one's going to listen and nothing's going to be done about it. And it could happen again any moment. And I'm guessing that after telling about 30 or 40 people and having them all shame and look at you as if you're crazy or there's no giants, forget about it, and that you're going to get depressed. And you're going to get confused because this is not how people behave. I mean, there should be news people here. They're looking at the damage of the building, and instead you're getting punished by everyone, and it feels really confusing. Like, what is going on here? And that's enough just to kind of give you a sense of the scale of the feeling for an infant being abused erratically, insanely out of attunement with one's size by a parent, and then having the entire community collude not to see, not to respond, to ignore, and to deny. So you've got that, and it's happened so many times off and on, and it happened so young that a part of the brain and a part of the biology is just frozen in that state of terror. You haven't gotten the feedback necessary to turn that panic switch on and off, because what you would need for that is honesty and sanity. But that's not what's happened. What's happened is you've been denied. So your body knows you're still not safe. You're even less safe than you thought you were, because the world around you is in denial of the danger, which means you're really in danger. Because take a sniper, for example. You've just watched him mow down 20 people, and you've just shouted, "There's a sniper." And everyone says, you know, "Cut it out. Stop making noise this time of the evening. Can't you see we're busy going to an appointment?" How do you feel? Do you calm down? Or do you say, "I am in real trouble because I am in such a fucked up world that no one's even got how much danger we're all in"? They're in denial. He could be around at any point. No one's doing anything. This is, you know, and you get even more worked up. And this worked up state is often labeled for children hyper. You know, it's not, it's a worked up nervous state. But when it's in complete denial about what it's about and why, relative to a child's perspective. And I really want you to hear that this is also relative to an adult perspective. It's just we tune out the reality that a 30-foot giant doing that kind of thing is exactly what it is for a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old to be treated in any number of ways, that a large percentage, i.e. more than 10%, of infants have this kind of trauma. And culturally, we all collude to not get in other people's business, which means that many traumatized children are raised with the experience that if they're asked, "Did you have a single adult person that you felt safe who would sanely and kindly respond to this," that they say no. So that is their experience of complete collusion. It's definitely my experience. So then you have the present moment that hopefully, like my present moment, is exquisitely better than this past moment. And so I want to be in the present moment. The trouble is, this terror, this horror, this crisis from the past that never got resolved with all that revved up energy is still in the brain, in the present. The brain and the body on some level they're not living in the present. They don't get that there is now a very new reality. They don't get it. My body doesn't get it. My body doesn't get it. And my emotions responding to the body don't get it. And sometimes the two of them gang up and convince my mind that some little small thing really is a big deal. So I'm like, as I'm making this recording, my back is aching. My whole upper torso has mild aches from tension that I've held on and off in the past few days that I haven't been able to let go of. And this is just normal. I mean, this has been going on for more than it's been going on for decades. My breathing, it's as if I want you to hear that for me, in some ways, these recordings are heaven, because I'm giving myself this focus to distract from all this. And, but there's this bit of the red circle that is always shouting to the present, saying, this has not been sorted out yet. We're in danger. This is not over. And my present saying, what else can I do? I'm in a 5-star hotel. I'm better off, health and financial and all that than probably 90% or more of the world's population. And they're not terrified. So why am I terrified about this reality? Am I crazy? Well, that's scary. So I've just invented a new fear. Maybe I'm crazy. So I can bring in some excuses for this anxiety. Well, here's a new excuse for anxiety. We have a room service. All right, so room service has arrived. I process all these little things like big deals, and I'm also noticing the many overlaps between my father and I, which helps me understand that he had PTSD, and on some level didn't want to be alone feeling crazy. And I think that's part of the reason he chose to do the things that he was pretty confident would pass it on to me. And so back to my strategy of how am I going to get my brain to respond to this area of the present rather than this physical, emotional symptoms that are these frozen kind of peak emotional experiences in life, which are all negative. Shame, terror, panic, terror about being panicked and punished for being panicked. There's so many layers of it all, but it's huge. How am I going to keep my brain on the beautiful part I've been able to create in the present? And what I'm using is focus. Because if I can focus obsessively on this part of the brain, I can tune this out. And here you can see this at work when, if you've got a headache and it's really bothering you, just pinch your thumb or stamp on your foot, and momentarily you have complete relief from the headache, because the intensity of a divergent focus out here has rescued your mind. It has drawn your full brain power to this dot here, and in the process it's blocked out this stuff here. So it's a great success. So what I look for is speed and intensity. Now, speed and intensity of what? Just racing cars? Here's where my rational brain kicked in, plus positive focus. So I recognized that I really needed and wanted speed and intensity and narrow focus. It was just observation. I felt happier in those moments than at any other point. Now, this had a variety of ripple effects. The first ripple effect is I couldn't engage with other people, because many other people, well, almost everyone, does not want to engage at the level of speed and intensity needed for me to block out this segment over here, where this past emotion and physical sensation is entering the present moment, which physically is great, meaning, yeah, physically it's great. And, wait a minute. So physically it's great, and you know, and I just want the emotions and thoughts and body sensations to match the present moment where things are great, not feel like I'm in a concentration camp. So speed and intensity plus positive focus. So here are some of the positive focuses I did. I did a very structured daily routine, and then I set myself goals, and then I would just totally throw myself into those goals with a sense of routine, and it would relatively effectively block things out. So how I got into crisis was achieving all my goals, one, and two, wanting to engage with people and finding that the more I did, the more I had to slow down and be at their intensity level. People have always told me, oh, you're so intense. And me not understanding why I couldn't. Because in this terrain, speed and intensity with a positive focus, like, let's take all the therapy I did. I did 4 to 6 hours of therapy a week. Intense positive focus. I achieved landscape jobs, you know, which I'm a landscape designer and installer. So I will show up, design and bid an entire landscape, maybe a $100,000 to $200,000 project in some cases, and do it all in a day. Like, that's the kind of intensity that I would work, whereas most contractors would meet and discuss and hem and haw, we'll get a price to you next week, then they get back to you next month, and what about this? And it's this big kind of, for me, it's like, no, let's just get it done. So here's the ideas, here's why, let's review all your answers to the questionnaire, let's do this, here's the price, are you ready to go? Okay, let's go. And I'd love it. My favorite clients were the clients that when you gave them immediate information, it was actionable. I love that. So, and then bing, the job gets done ahead of schedule, and, you know, I'm obsessing on it. But in all this scenario, I'm a cool American contractor, because this is a little bit archetypal of you know, a cool male contractor. So this speed and intensity is not ruining my life, coupled with the positive focus that I've created for it, it's actually catapulting me forward. But I don't know I have PTSD. I don't know what trauma is. I don't know why I'm so driven to speed and intensity. I just know I need it, because with it, I feel like a human being, and without it, I feel completely out of control. And I'm a little bit into, like, I'm really uncomfortable right now, as I mentioned, with my body aching and this and that. And I'd love to have the speed and intensity of, like, this thought process and explore it all in great lengths. I would love it if my words were 5 times faster, because my thoughts are lucidly 5 times faster than my words. And so I live entire realities with speed and intensity and imagination and passion. And my body is exhausted trying to catch up. But it is important to, I'll just mention a couple of the side effects. Overwhelming other people is a side effect. Adrenaline addiction is a side effect. Irrationality is a side effect when speed and intensity doesn't work as well as a slower speed or a different intensity or a pause and a regrouping, but because I'm so determined to keep these sensations and feelings from washing up. Like, I used to use this motorboat analogy when I would talk to friends about this. I'd say, I can't stop the motorboat because I'm going to be swamped with the backwash. What I was really saying was, as soon as I slow down, I'm going to feel all this, and I'm not going to know why. And I'm going to feel like I'm going crazy. And it's going to be horrible. And it's going to be so horrible that it's worth... So here was my strategy. I just got really good at making good decisions quickly so that I could keep up the momentum and rapidly propel my life forward, and figured out that wasting like 30% of money to go at that speed still felt better and saved money on therapy, etc., etc. And so it was actually rational to waste that amount or to destroy certain relationships that couldn't operate at those speeds in order that I could stay at those speeds and not slow down. The biggest single toll, the biggest single cost as I started intersecting with people, however, was the grief that good people for whom and with whom I could not explain what was going on at a speed and intensity that would allow me to stay fast and intense, felt marginalized, felt... People will tell me, like, Dane, it's like all or nothing. And I'm saying, yes, it's that. It's all or nothing. Which is it going to be? Quickly. What? All or nothing. Okay. Good luck to you. Bye. I'm off. I have a lot of grief around the people who could not understand how the caring man that they saw in my eyes could go along with such a seemingly rude, crude, and unnecessary behavior. And I couldn't tell them. I couldn't tell them this is the most necessary thing of anything in my life because I can't cope. And you are not knowledgeable enough to help me in this terrain where the past overlaps, overshadows, and grows in the present and becomes this sick thing where then my fear of this is just as big as this. So it grows and it takes over more and more of the present, and I've got to keep moving forward. So that's it for now. That's my little adrenaline rush of getting lost in there, and now I've got to be kind to my girlfriend who's patiently waiting to eat breakfast.